Okay. Colonel Kelly Hosey, 452nd Mission Support Group Commander, March Air Reserve Base, California. I enlisted in the Air Force in January 1980. Somewhat out of high school. I had graduated in 1979, and I was inspired due to the Iran hostage crisis that was going on at the time. And it surprised me that we had our own U.S. citizens being held by a foreign government. At the same time, I was looking for something to do to gain some skills. I was working in a factory. My family couldn't afford college. No one in my family had been to college. So I had read an article on non-traditional career fields for women, and the military was one of them. And of course, they highlighted the Air Force as, at the time, having the most occupations open to women. So that inspired me, and I went to the recruiters when the factory shut down between Christmas and New Year's, and I was at basic training on January 15th. So it was a very quick decision. I went in open general, no guaranteed job, and was assigned to the telecommunications career field right out of basic training, and went directly to Robins Air Force Base to the 5th Combat Communications Group with no tech school, directly from basic training to my first assignment as a telecommunications operator. Well, the other part of why I joined, at the same time this Iran hostage crisis was going on, and I was looking for something to do other than work in a factory with my mother, 2 aunts, and my cousin all in the same factory making computer cables, was a breakfast at McDonald's with my mother on a Sunday morning after church. We lived in Chicopee, Massachusetts, which is right outside Westover Air Reserve Base, and a group of people came in wearing flight suits, and many of them were females. And my mother was saying what a wonderful opportunity it was for these women to be in the military. I realize now they were probably, most of them were probably flight nurses at the time. And so she started talking about my dad, who's retired from the Air Force after 20 years, all of the great opportunities he had to travel, and the kind of the exciting career that he had, that as a military spouse, she didn't always get to go on a lot of those trips, and what great opportunities those were. So that was another reason that it all kind of came together: the hostage crisis, the McDonald's breakfast, and the article in the magazine, I think it was the Cosmopolitan magazine, talking about careers for women. That inspired me to enlist. I went from Airman Basic all the way to Chief. And a large part of having the opportunity at Chief is having some great mentors. And I did have some wonderful mentors right from my first Chief Master Sergeants when I was on active duty, and some OICs, some officers, commanders. I had some really good mentors, and I had some really great opportunities. And I worked hard. I will definitely say I worked hard. When I made Chief, I realized that I had another 20 years to go in my career. I had been working on my degree all along. My mother remembered that CCAF speech from the recruiter and made sure that I used my GI Bill to get my CCAF. She encouraged me quite strongly to continue to do that. And just as our officer in charge was PCSing, I was finishing up my 4-year degree, which, thanks to the Air Force and the VA, I was able to do with GI Bill and tuition assistance. The position opened up, and it was hard to fill. There weren't a lot of applicants, so I talked to my group commander and I said, if you'd consider an age waiver, I will throw my hat in the ring for the commission. And so that was coming together just as I was getting promoted to Chief. I felt as though I wasn't ready to stop progressing, and I also could see the opportunity to make a broader impact on careers and the Air Force as an officer, just having that opportunity to continue to progress and make an impact. Deployments, ORIs, exercises where you're working long, hard hours and you're really exhausted, but you're learning things about people that you work with all the time. You learn more about them when you're in that kind of austere environment, and just really working hard towards a common goal to get a mission done. So deployments, definitely. I've really only had 3 overseas deployments in my career. Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia when I was on active duty, Honduras when I was on active duty, and then Sarajevo for the peacekeeping mission in Bosnia-Herzegovina later on when I was an officer. A lot of ORIs and exercises all around the United States. We've all been to Savannah and Volk Field and Alpena. We've had those opportunities to sleep in tents and on active duty. We were a combat comm unit, so that's the only thing we did was deploy, so a lot of field exercises. So that's the #1 Desert Shield Desert Storm, and definitely post 9/11, those are the big highlights. And then of course, who can ever forget the real world F-16 mishap here, and then this surreal environment that we're in with COVID-19. I think the things that really, the events that stick out are the ones where you pull together and you put in long hours and you work together as a team and get the mission done. And then all feel that you know, brothers in arms kind of feeling when you see that mission accomplished. So over the past 40 years, I have served under 7 commanders-in-chief and have had 4 uniforms, 4 utility uniforms, starting with fatigues, being one of the first squadrons in the Air Force to test the BDUs, and then our ABUs, I'm sorry about that, and then now the OCPs. So that, I think, shows the 40 years of my career, how the Air Force has changed, and we've adjusted and progressed in our technologies, in our capabilities, and how we do so much to protect this great nation. So to the airmen of the 452nd Mission Support Group and March Air Reserve Base, I'd like to say it's been an honor and privilege to serve with you, and I'd like to thank you for all your support and the amazing things you do in this environment of often tight budgets and high op tempo deployments, running the largest, most complex base in the Air Force Reserve Command with real-world alert missions, multiple tenants, and being a historic base. You're all amazing, and I appreciate the support and all of your hard work, all of your dedication, professionalism. Words can't express how grateful I am to have had this assignment and to close out my career here with the great airmen at March Air Reserve Base and in the 452nd Mission Support Group. So thank you all for your support and your continued dedication.